Democracy.
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 About 2,500 years ago, democracy as a form of government was invented in Greece. In July of 1776, America got her independence, and from this period, it became the king, the ruler, and promoter of democracy.
After a long session of the Constitutional Convention, Benjamin Franklin was asked, "What kind of a government have you given us?" His reply, "A democracy."
Democracy doesn't happen by accident.
Democracy is a vibrant, living thing that needs to be explained, promoted, nurtured, and encouraged.
Keep a democracy going.
Embrace democracies.
The great democracies.
Liberal democracy.
Let the people at the grassroots who make our democracy work help build it elsewhere.
Fight for democracy.
And democracy is worth dying for.
Why America, as the king of the world, think everybody else should have a democracy. This form of government comes with some serious problems which most people are not talking about. So I want to talk about it right in this video. In his 1966 book, Bunch of Thoughts, M.S. Goldwalker wrote, "Democracy is to a very large extent only a myth in practice. The high-sounding concept of individual freedom only meant the freedom of those talented few to exploit the rest." The very first problem you have with democracy is that it is very easy for a talented few to manipulate the rest of the population and get to be their leader. I think you would like me to give you some examples of how these manipulations work. Look at this, and this. Every image I'm showing on your screen now are images of American president romancing their dog and taking photographs and video about it. Now, this is a very simple question for you to answer. Do you know the reason why American president and many Western leaders love to take photographs and videos with dogs? Well, several scientific studies have found that people who stay next to dogs or walk around with dogs are perceived to be more attractive. So, at least in the Western perspective, if you walk around with dog or you take photograph with dog, other people are likely to like you more, think you are more relatable, think you are more trustworthy, and as a result, they go to poll and vote for you. Now, I know what you are saying. You are a black man, probably an African, and you think, oh, like, dog does not make any sense to me. Yeah, that is because of cultural differences. But trust me, African leaders know dog will not make you vote for them. And they have their own form of manipulation which work as effective, probably more effective than dogs. So look at all the images I'm showing you on my screen now. These are images of the most successful Nigerian politicians. What do you think they are doing? They are walking around the street, they are eating common man's food, they are frying akara, they are doing things that the poorest of the poor are doing. Why do you think these people do it? Well, they do it because it works. They can easily manipulate you to think they are like you. And psychologically, humans like people who are like them. And on election day, you go to poll to vote for that guy who appears to be like you, but who, in the real sense, is never like you. I mean, look at this image. This is so angry that he's eating 2 corn at a time. Who in the world do that? The 2 examples I gave you now are just tiny view manipulative way somebody who is a little bit smarter than the rest of the population can manipulate everybody else. I mean, if you can take your time to study a few psychology books, you are going to come across thousands and thousands of other manipulative strategies that somebody who is a little bit smarter than other people can use to persuade them and manipulate them to get their votes and become their leaders. Now, another thing we have to understand is this. These manipulative strategies work best or better the more uneducated people you have in a population, because education makes people to have higher degree of rationality, and this is the reason why democracy could sometimes be dangerous in Africa. Many countries in Africa have literacy rate that is terrible, and even people who claim to be literate in Africa are not rational. I mean, most people, not every Africa. So what you find is a country where a few people who are smart, intelligent, can easily manipulate 60% of the population. And by the time you are able to do that, you are able to rule them. Even when you are not the best leader they can find. But there is even more. If you pay attention to the Western politics in the recent years, you will observe that many intellectuals from the West have started cautioning West against identity politics.
Democrats are very good at that.
Well, they
played identity politics for the last 20 years. All they've done is inflame tribal tendencies, as far as I can tell.
The question you want to ask yourself is, why are countries like America and United Kingdom cautioning, their politicians against identity politics? Do you really know how crazy identity politics could be in Africa? So let me tell you this. The whole of the United States is, according to the Bureau of Statistics, having 6 ethnic groups. What that means is, if you are a politician and you want to divide the United States, you will probably divide the United States into 6. If you want to add male, female, LGTB and all of that, you still cannot divide the United States into 20. But guess what? If you're a politician in my country, you can easily divide my country into 250. That is the number of different ethnic groups we have. Yeah, what happened with the ability of a politician to divide people according to their tribal or ethnic identity is that you may never be able to produce a good leader. For example, these are the people who have ruled my country under a democracy. Do you know one thing that is common to all of these people? Where they came from majority ethnic group, except one person who became our president by accident. What this tells you about a democracy is that the best person to rule my country may never be able to rule my country. Now, what this means is, the primary thing you need to rule my country is not competency. The primary thing you need to rule my country is the tribe or the ethnic group in which you were born in. For example, if you are born in the north, Hausa Fulani, your chances of ruling my country is 9 out of 10. Then, if you are born as Yoruba, Southwest, your chances of ruling my country is probably 7. Then, if you are born an Igbo person from Anambra or Imo, your chances of ruling my country become 4. I'm sorry, if you are born as an Urobo person, a Sikiri person, or all these little minority group, even if you are the best person to save my country, your chances of becoming the president of my country is probably 0. Because somebody from the north will contest against you, somebody from the southwest will contest against you, and they are going to play tribal politics. And your tribe is probably just 500,000 people against 50 million other tribes. So what you see here is, a democracy may never give us even the best leader, because the best leader have to come from the right place, or else he can never win an election. So the question is, what does this tell you about democracy? On page 2031 of the Complete Works of Aristotle, Volume 2, the Revised Edition by Oxford Translation, Aristotle wrote this: "The real difference between democracy and oligarchy is poverty and wealth. Wherever men rule because of their wealth, that is an oligarchy." Let me repeat that. Wherever men rule because of their wealth, that is an oligarchy. According to Aristotle, if there is a country where the only people who can become leaders are the wealthy people, that country does not have a democracy. It is having oligarchy. Unfortunately, in most of the countries in Africa today, you need to be wealthy to become a leader, or you have a godfather who is wealthy. Now, the problem about that is people are not really voting for the right people, but they are voting for somebody who bribed them. In my country, people literally get paid to go and vote. Yet, everybody say it is democracy. I'm sorry. Aristotle says it is oligarchy. It is still this authoritarian rule because the guy that has bullion van is the guy that can rule you. And if that is the guy that can rule you, that guy is not likely to be the best person that should rule you. And you can't really blame poor people because I tell you honestly, if I have not eaten for the past 48 hours and somebody comes to my house today to say, "Hey, I'm giving you 10,000 naira. I want you to go and vote for me." If you think I will not collect that money, it's because you have never been hungry before. But there is even more problem with democracy in Africa. In February of 2018, I was fortunate to be one of the few people who were invited for a meeting with the Vice President of Nigeria. And in this meeting, the VP of our country was talking about different things, and he talked about how the executive arm of government wanted to do certain things, and they came up with bills because they needed new law to do those things, and they drafted bills and send those bills to the legislative arm, the senators and the rep, and those bills took forever before they could pass them. In some instances, those bills were never passed because of whatever other interest. This is another big setback for democracy. This is so bad that one of the most famous politicians in my country just last week went on national television to say that one of the people that are currently contesting to be president of my country should not be voted for because if you vote for him, he was not going to have the majority in the Senate. And if he doesn't have the majority in the Senate, then it means he's never going to be able to do anything.
When you talk about the other parties, with great respect to them, to the individuals, particularly Peter. But again, don't forget that what we run in Nigeria, we run a presidential system. When you go to that ballot box on the day of election, you're voting for party. You don't see Peter, you see a party. Now, a party where from day one, you don't have candidates in all the parliamentary seats. So already from day one, there's a recipe for disaster because you know that the executive and the legislature are not going to have a majority. And a lot of people, when you ask them, what is their concern now? They tell you restructuring. These are things that need constitutional review. These are things that need you also to have a majority in the National Assembly.
Yeah, think about that for a moment. Imagine you are the best person to rule a country. You are the best human being to become our leader. And 70% of citizens voted for you in an election. Then you become the president, but unfortunately, you do not have majority in the Senate. And because of that, you are going to waste 4 years of your life sending bills to the Senate and getting nothing done. And at the end of the day, even though you are the best candidate for the job, you are still not able to do anything just because you cannot do anything in a democracy except somebody pass the bills. Now, listen to me. If you don't think this is stupid, it's because you are probably smoking some weed.
them go kill off a millions. Minister of Finance, read the budget and him say make a millions.
Today, everybody in the world says, oh, the development that has happened in China in the last 20 years was a miracle. What we don't know is that the president of China can wake up today, 5 a.m., and have one insight, a new idea, and 8 a.m., that guy starts implementing that idea without having to beg some other people. Now, think of Dubai. Within a few decades, Dubai became the tourist country of the world. Why? Well, because the king of Dubai can, by 2 p.m., imagine an hotel that stands on a tree, and by 5 p.m., he has started making calls on how to start implementing that idea without having to beg some people, hey, please pass the bill, please let us do it. Speed, ability to think about something and get it done the next morning is probably the most important thing when you are trying to grow. Unfortunately, democracy travels at 30 kilometers per hour. There are too many people on your way. There are too many people you have to please. There are too many people to deliberate, to think, to approve whatever you want to do. And before you know it, you have spent 4 years and you cannot do anything. So far in this video, I have talked about how in a democracy, a very few talented people can easily manipulate everybody else and get the vote they need to become the leader, even though they are not the best leader you can find. I have talked about the fact that politicians can easily appeal to people's sentiments and tribal affiliation, then get the required vote to become the president or the governor. I have talked about the fact that in a democracy, you have to beg everybody before you can do anything. And if these people are having different interests or interests that is not even good for the country, they can easily stop you. I have talked about how, especially in Africa, only the rich can rule, and how in the real sense of definition of what a democracy should be, Aristotle believed that is not a democracy, it is oligarchy. Now, at this point in the video, somebody is going to feel like, this guy is promoting autocratic rule. Oh, this guy is asking Africa to call back the military and let them rule us. Well, that is probably not what I'm saying. Instead, what I'm saying is this. You see, black people have this habit of taking everything America throws at them as gospel. So wherever America say, hey, we have tested this thing and it is good for us, you take it.
The conceptual West convinced us that our salvation could only come from something they call democracy.
Black people have this habit of taking it without questioning it. And if you think about this very well, this is like saying, I meet you on the road and I see the clothes you wear and I say, oh, your clothes fit you so well. I like this suit. It is perfect on your body. Can you please borrow me your clothes? I want to wear it to a party next week. The question I have to ask you is this. Do you really think the clothes I borrow from you because it fits you perfectly is going to fit me? Now, the answer to that question is because you are probably having a different body than my body. So the clothes that fits you perfectly may not fit me at all. That exactly is what happened with democracy. If I want to borrow your clothes and I want to wear it to a party, I will probably have to take your clothes to a tailor to refit it, to resize it for me. I think similar thing is what Africa need to do about democracy. Yeah, America, the king, the God, the almighty of the world, says democracy is the best form of government. Yeah, maybe we should not argue. But maybe we should take this democracy, then cut it into pieces and think about it. Which part or element of this democracy is good and perfect for our culture, for our belief system, for our tradition, for the kind of people we are? Then, which part of this democracy is not good for us as a people? Then we throw that away. I think if you want to wear my clothes, that is probably what you would do. You will take it to tailor. Why don't we take the democracy that the king of the world gave us? Why don't we take it to tailor and see maybe we can refit it for our bodies? Thank you very much for watching this video. My name is Steve Courage. If you like my video, there are more of them for you here, and you might like my books, so check them at the description box.